Firm and friendly handshakes, smiles and jokes. This is how the 19th Ukraine-EU Summit began. President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, represented the EU in the summit. Jean-Claude Juncker, President of the European Commission, was also present. After their greetings, the leaders continued their communication behind doors. According to Petro Poroshenko, a more friendly meeting of economic and political partners was hard to imagine. During the meeting, he presented the signed association agreement for the visa-free regime between Ukraine and the EU, which came into force on June 11th. More than 100,000 Ukrainians have already used this opportunity to travel.
If you pass all this exam, nothing and no one will defeat you. Ніхто і ніщо вас не переможе. Petro, let me take this opportunity to give you this document. This is the final decision of the EU ratification of our association. Congratulations.
The procedure of signing the agreement on the association with the EU countries took 3,779 days. It is the document which was the reason for millions of Ukrainians to take to the streets in February 2013. And now we must do everything to make the Euro integration not an abstract concept. It is important today to form a new strategic prospect for further rapprochement between Ukraine and the EU. No country in the world conducts such deep and comprehensive reforms while at the same time suffering external aggression, stressed Poroshenko. He also thanked the European colleagues for prolonging the sanctions against Russia. All participants of the summit called again on the Kremlin to end the war and release all Ukrainian political prisoners. European leaders noted that Ukraine had showed significant progress in terms of reforming the country. 20 years ago, I was in Kyiv for the first time. Back then, I could not think that Ukrainians and Europeans would be so close. You have big ambitions and patience, too, which is very important. For the last 3 years, you managed to reform the country more than for the previous 20 years. European leaders believe that although Ukraine has done quite a lot, it still has a long way to go.
Today, I can see clearly that you will not be defeated by an external enemy. You are too strong. You can only be defeated by yourself. This is why you need to keep your unity at any cost and avoid, like the plague, internal conflicts. I always repeated this to my compatriots when I was Prime Minister of Poland. I repeat this now to the whole of Europe. Only united can we overcome the challenges of modern times.
What we are asking, without lecturing the country, because this is a country which has not to be lectured, is to increase the fight against corruption, because corruption is undermining all the efforts this great nation is undertaking. And so we were offering to the President this morning, President Tusk and myself, an intermediary way how to deal with this problem when it comes to jurisdictions. Till now, the European Union was requesting between brackets from Ukraine to create a special court in charge of corruption affairs. Now we agreed this morning that if Ukraine would introduce in its judiciary system a chamber dedicated to deal with this, that would be sufficient.
In the near future, Ukraine and the EU plan to expand their partnership. In particular, they want to develop a long-term plan for cooperation between Kyiv and Brussels.